The breaking point. The hegemony had ruled the known galaxy for 15,000 years. Their grand halls on Centaurus Prime echoed with the footsteps of 1,000 species, each bound by the immutable laws of cooperation and subordination. At the apex of this carefully maintained hierarchy stood the Kravari, beings of crystalline intelligence and cold calculation, who had carefully crafted this empire of order. Admiral Thexare stood at the observation deck of the hegemony's central command, his crystalline form refracting the light of distant stars. Below him spread the jewel of the empire, a city that stretched across continents, built over millennia of undisputed rule. Yet today, for the first time in his 300-year life, he felt uncertainty crawling through his crystalline matrix. "Play it again," he commanded, his voice resonating through the chamber. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the human representative, Director Harrison Wells, standing before the Hegemony Council. The recording had been played countless times across every corner of the empire, causing ripples of disbelief and fear. Earth's quantum gateway technology is not for sale, trade, or sharing, Wells stated, his voice steady and unflinching. It was developed by humanity, for humanity. We respectfully decline the hegemony's request for technology transfer. The recording ended, leaving Thexare staring at his own reflection in the window. Behind him, senior analyst Zinvie shifted uncomfortably, her crystalline form dimming with concern. "Impossible," Thexare muttered. "They cannot simply decline." But they had. The humans, barely 2 centuries into faster-than-light travel, had done the unthinkable. They had said no to the Kravari, to the hegemony itself. The quantum gateway technology they had developed, capable of instantaneous transportation across vast distances, could revolutionize everything from commerce to warfare. The Kravari had naturally assumed they would take control of its development and distribution, as they had with every other significant technological advancement in the galaxy. In the lower levels of the city, Specialist Rhine worked frantically at her console, analyzing data streams from Earth. As one of the few Kravari who had studied human behavior extensively, she saw patterns that worried her deeply. "Sir," she transmitted to Thexare, "you need to see this." The data showed massive energy signatures across Earth's surface, hidden beneath clever camouflage. The humans hadn't just developed quantum gateway technology, they'd been preparing for this moment for years. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Himalayas, Commander Jasmine Rivera watched the hegemony's reactions with calculated interest. Surrounding her, the quantum defense grid hummed quietly, its capabilities still unknown to their potential adversaries. "They're scanning us again," Lieutenant Kai Patel reported, monitoring the sensor arrays. "Same pattern as before." "Let them look," Rivera replied, a slight smile playing across her face. "They'll see exactly what we want them to see." The human response had been years in the making. While the hegemony believed they were dealing with a naive species grateful for admission into their grand empire, humanity had been studying, learning, and preparing. They had recognized the Kravari's pattern of technological appropriation long ago and had built their defenses accordingly. In the Hegemony Council chambers, High Chancellor Vextor called an emergency session. The vast amphitheater filled with representatives from hundreds of species, all wondering the same thing. How would the Kravari respond to this unprecedented defiance? "The humans must be made to understand their place," Vextor declared, his crystalline form pulsing with barely contained rage. "We have guided the galaxy for millennia. We cannot allow this chaos." But even as he spoke, whispers spread through the chamber. Other species, long cowed by Kravari dominance, watched with growing interest. If the humans could refuse, could others? Back on Earth, in the secure quantum research facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. James Wong and his team continued their work. The quantum gateway was only the beginning. The technology they had revealed was merely the surface of their capabilities. "They think we're being reckless," Wong remarked to his colleague, Dr. Aisha Patel, as they monitored the quantum field experiments. "They don't understand that we've been planning this for decades." "They see what they expect to see," Aisha replied, adjusting the quantum harmonics. "A young species, technologically inferior, easy to control. Their pride blinds them." The Krivari's first response came through diplomatic channels, a series of increasingly stern requests for compliance. When those were met with polite but firm refusals, the requests became demands, and finally threats. Earth's orbital defense platforms, disguised as weather and communication satellites, tracked the movement of hegemony ships. The Krivari were mobilizing, just as humanity had predicted they would. In his private chambers, Admiral Thexare reviewed the initial military assessments. The humans had minimal fleet presence, outdated weapon systems, and seemingly primitive defensive capabilities. Everything suggested this would be a swift operation to bring the upstart species to heel. Yet something bothered him, a nagging sensation that they were missing something crucial. The humans' confidence seemed too genuine, their defiance too calculated. As the first hegemony warships began their journey toward Earth, Commander Rivera called a meeting of Earth's Defense Council. The quantum defense grid was ready, the sleeper cells in place throughout the hegemony's territory were activated, and the true extent of human technological advancement remained safely hidden. "They're coming," she announced to the assembled leaders. "Exactly as we predicted. The question is, do we show them everything we can do, or just enough to make them reconsider their place in the galaxy?" The answer would shape the future of not just humanity, but of every species that had ever dreamed of standing up to the Krivari's dominion. The price of pride was about to become very clear indeed. Echoes of war. The hegemony's first strike was meant to be a demonstration of overwhelming force. Instead, it became a lesson in humility. Admiral Thexare watched from his flagship, the Crystal Dominion, as the advanced fleet of 30 warships entered the Sol system. The ships moved in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls reflecting starlight in a display that had terrified countless civilizations into submission. Multiple human vessels detected, reported Navigation Officer Kellare. Small craft only. No significant weapons signatures. Thexare's crystalline form pulsed with satisfaction. "Send the warning broadcast. Let them witness true power." The message boomed across all frequencies in multiple Earth languages. Submit to the hegemony's authority or face immediate consequences. It was a script that had worked for millennia. The human response came not in words, but in action. As the hegemony fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, their sensors suddenly went dark. Communication arrays failed. Navigation systems showed conflicting data. Each ship began reporting different positions for its fellow vessels. "Impossible," Thexare muttered, watching his perfect formation dissolve into chaos. "Their technology is primitive. They cannot." His words were cut short as space itself seemed to twist around his ships. Later reports would describe it as if reality had hiccuped. When it was over, 5 hegemony vessels had simply vanished, transported to random points across the solar system. In the Himalayan Command Center, Commander Rivera watched the confusion with grim satisfaction. "Quantum field disruption successful," Lieutenant Patel reported. "Their crystalline computing systems are completely disoriented." "Proceed with Phase 2, Rivera ordered. Across the solar system, hidden human outposts activated. They were small, stealthy installations that the hegemony had dismissed as mining operations or research stations. Now they revealed their true purpose, generating overlapping fields of quantum interference that turned space itself into a weapon against the invaders. On Centaurus Prime, the Hegemony Council descended into chaos. The live feeds from their fleet showed scenes that defied explanation. Ships reporting phantom enemies, weapons firing at shadows, communication systems broadcasting nonsense. High Chancellor Vex Tor faced the assembled representatives, his crystalline form clouded with rage and confusion. "This is some primitive trick," he declared. "The humans cannot possibly." "They warned us," interrupted a voice from the gallery. All eyes turned to Ambassador Zyra of the Nexians, a species known for their observational abilities. "They said their quantum technology was not for sharing. Perhaps we should have asked why." In the Pacific Research Facility, Dr. Wong and Dr. Patel monitored the quantum defense grid's performance. The technology they had revealed to the galaxy, the quantum gateway, was merely a civilian application. The military applications, developed in secret, were far more sophisticated. "They still think they're fighting a conventional war," Aisha noted. watching the hegemony ship struggle against forces they couldn't understand. They haven't realized that we've changed the rules of physics itself. The Krivari's response to their initial failure was predictable. They sent more ships, larger ships, more powerful weapons, old solutions to what they refused to recognize as a new kind of problem. Commander Rivera had anticipated this. They're so convinced of their superiority that they can't imagine being truly outmatched, she told her staff. Let's show them something new. The second wave of hegemony ships encountered something unprecedented. Quantum fields didn't just disrupt their systems, they began to alter the crystalline technology itself. The Krivari's greatest strength, their crystal-based computing and weapons, became a vulnerability. Admiral Thexra watched in horror as his flagship systems began to crystallize in new patterns, forming structures that responded to human commands. The technology they had relied on for millennia was being rewritten at the quantum level. In the lower ranks of the hegemony, whispers began to spread. The Aldarians, known for their strategic analysis, began quietly moving their assets away from Krivari space. The Meridians, experts in quantum physics, requested access to their ancient archives, searching for any mention of similar technologies in galactic history. They found nothing. Humanity had not just developed new technology, they had developed something entirely new. On Earth, the Defense Council received an unexpected transmission. The Collective, a loose alliance of species that had always maintained neutrality, requested a private audience. Their message was simple: we wish to understand. Commander Rivera smiled as she read the request. And so it begins, she murmured. The real victory isn't beating them in battle. It's making them question everything they thought they knew. In his private chambers, Admiral Thexra faced a decision that would reshape the galaxy. The obvious choice was to commit the full might of the hegemony fleet, thousands of ships that could reduce Earth's surface to ash. But for the first time in his long life, he felt something alien to his crystalline nature: doubt. The humans had not just resisted. They had done so with technology that seemed to operate on principles the Krivari couldn't comprehend. Each attempted show of force had only revealed more of their own vulnerabilities. As the second wave of ships retreated in disarray, Specialist Rhine compiled her analysis. Her conclusions sent shockwaves through the hegemony hierarchy. The humans are not defending themselves. They are teaching us a lesson. The price of pride was becoming clear, and it was higher than anyone in the hegemony had imagined. The question was no longer whether they could force humanity to submit, but whether they could afford to continue trying. In the Quantum Defense Grid's control room, Commander Rivera received word that the hegemony fleet was regrouping for another attack. Let them come, she said. Some lessons take time to learn. The echoes of war were about to become a symphony of change, and humanity was conducting the orchestra. The art of defiance. The hegemony's third assault on Earth began with thunder but ended in whispers. As the largest fleet ever assembled in Krivari history emerged from hyperspace, humanity showed them the true meaning of defiance. From her command post in the Lunar Quantum Facility, Commander Rivera watched the massive armada appear. 5,000 ships strong, their crystalline hulls forming a constellation that temporarily outshone the stars themselves. A display of force meant to cow humanity into submission. They still think this is about military might, she remarked to her staff. Initiate Protocol Prometheus. In the depths of the Pacific Facility, Dr. Wong and Dr. Patel activated the quantum resonance matrix. Initiating full-spectrum quantum field manipulation, Aisha announced, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. They're about to learn why we named this protocol after the one who stole fire from the gods. The effect was immediate and devastating. The quantum fields didn't just disrupt the hegemony fleet systems, they began to rewrite the fundamental properties of space around them. Ships found themselves operating in bubbles where the laws of physics had been subtly altered. Weapons fired only to have their energy dissipate into harmless light shows. Communication signals reached their destinations carrying entirely different messages than the ones sent. Admiral Thexra, watching from the new flagship Crystal Vengeance, felt his crystalline form vibrate with unease as reality itself seemed to bend around his fleet. How? He demanded of his science officers. How are they doing this? But the Krivari's understanding of quantum mechanics, advanced as it was couldn't comprehend what humanity had achieved. They had moved beyond manipulating quantum states to manipulating the fundamental forces that govern them. In the Hegemony Council chambers, the first cracks in the Krivari's absolute authority began to show. Ambassador Zyra of the Nexians stood before the assembly, her voice carrying across the stunned silence. Shifting tides. The revolution began not with a bang, but with a whisper. Across the Hegemony's vast territories, species that had lived under Krivari dominion for millennia began to move in shadows lengthened by humanity's defiance. In the Aldarian Enclave, a secret meeting convened beneath the crystalline spires of their capital. Representatives from 12 species gathered, their presence masked by quantum-dampening fields, technology quietly provided by Earth. "The humans have shown us something remarkable," spoke Elder Nixus of the Aldarians. "Not just their technology, but their willingness to stand alone against the tide of history." Meanwhile, aboard the Crystal Vengeance, Admiral Thexra faced a mutiny of thought. His own officers, beings he had commanded for centuries, were asking questions that had no acceptable answers within Krivari doctrine. If their quantum manipulation can alter the fundamental forces of reality, his science director Velare argued, then everything we believed about our technological superiority was built on incomplete understanding. The Krivari response to this crisis of confidence was predictably harsh. Across their territories, they instituted stricter controls, increased surveillance, and imposed harsher penalties for dissent. But trying to contain the spread of an idea proved as futile as trying to hold starlight in their crystalline hands. In the Lunar Quantum Facility, Commander Rivera monitored the growing unrest with calculated satisfaction. "Phase 4 is proceeding exactly as predicted," she reported to the Defense Council. "The hegemony is cracking from within." Dr. Wong and Dr. Patel had moved their operations to the asteroid belt, where they were overseeing the construction of something unprecedented, a quantum field generator large enough to encompass the entire solar system. "The Krivari believe this is about military superiority," Wong explained to a visiting delegation of neutral species. "They don't understand that we're rewriting the fundamental language of the universe." The tide shifted dramatically when the Meridians, longtime allies of the Krivari, publicly announced their neutrality in the conflict. Their announcement came with a devastating analysis. Humanity's quantum technology represented not just an advancement, but an evolutionary leap in understanding the universe. High Chancellor Vextor's response was immediate and severe. He ordered the Meridian homeworld blockaded, a show of force meant to discourage others from following their example. Instead, it became a demonstration of the hegemony's growing impotence. The blockading fleet arrived to find their crystalline technology refusing to function in ways they couldn't explain. Ships that attempted to establish orbital positions found themselves gently but firmly pushed away by localized quantum fields. The Meridians hadn't just declared neutrality, they had accepted humanity's offer of defensive technology. "We don't need to fight them directly anymore," Commander Rivera explained to her staff. "We just need to show others they can say no." In the Hegemony Council chambers, the atmosphere had changed from one of unquestioning obedience to barely concealed rebellion. Species that had never dared speak against the Krivari were finding their voices, emboldened by humanity's example and protected by quietly installed quantum defense systems. Admiral Thexra, watching his authority crumble like deteriorating crystal, made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. He transmitted a secure message to Earth, requesting a private audience. "Our pride has become our prison," he admitted to Commander Rivera during their quantum-encrypted communication. "But pride can also be the key to our liberation, if we have the courage to admit our mistakes." The response from the Krivari leadership was swift and desperate. Thexra was branded a traitor, but his words had already taken root in the crystalline minds of his fellow officers. The Hegemony fleet, once a perfect instrument of Krivari will, began to fragment as individual commanders were forced to choose between tradition and truth. In the asteroid belt, the massive quantum field generator neared completion. It represented humanity's ultimate statement, not just the ability to defend Earth, but to fundamentally alter the nature of space itself within the solar system. "They're gathering for one final assault," Lieutenant Patel reported, monitoring the movement of loyal hegemony forces. "They still think if they just bring enough ships, enough power, they can overwhelm our defenses. Dr. Patel smiled as she calibrated the quantum fields. They don't understand. We're not just changing the rules of engagement, we're changing the very nature of space itself. The hegemony's internal fractures were now impossible to ignore. The Aldarian enclave had grown to include 30 species, all quietly preparing for a post-Kravari galaxy. The Meridians were openly sharing their archives, revealing centuries of suppressed technological innovations that the Kravari had deemed too destabilizing to their rule. Commander Rivera stood in the lunar facility's observation dome, watching Earth rotate below. The quantum fields surrounding the planet were visible now, a subtle shimmer in space that represented humanity's greatest achievement, the ability to rewrite reality itself. "They're coming," she announced to her staff, as sensors detected the massive movement of hegemony ships. "And when they do, we'll show them the true price of pride." The galaxy held its breath, knowing that the next confrontation would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the future of every species that had ever dreamed of standing equal among the stars. In the quantum-shielded chambers beneath the Himalayas, Earth's leadership prepared to activate the full potential of their technological revolution. The price of pride was about to become a lesson written in the very fabric of space-time itself. The tides had shifted, and the wave of change was about to break upon the shores of history. New dawn. The final battle for the galaxy's future began in silence. 10,000 hegemony ships, the last desperate throw of Kravari supremacy, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Their crystalline hulls formed a vast wall of light, a sight meant to inspire terror but instead evoked only pity from those who understood what was about to happen. Commander Rivera stood in the heart of the Lunar Quantum Control Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the approaching armada. "Are we ready?" she asked, her voice carrying the weight of history. "Quantum field generator at full capacity," Dr. Wong reported from the asteroid belt facility. "Ready to rewrite the rules one last time?" High Chancellor Vextor's voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is your final chance to submit to the natural order. The hegemony has ruled for 15,000 years. You are nothing but a moment in cosmic time." Commander Rivera's response was simple. "The moment has come for change." With those words, humanity unveiled its masterpiece. The massive quantum field generator in the asteroid belt activated, and reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Space around the solar system began to shimmer with possibilities, quantum states overlapping and interweaving in ways that defied conventional physics. Admiral Thexare, now branded a traitor but followed by a third of the hegemony fleet, transmitted one last message to his former masters. "Look around you. The universe is not what we thought it was. It never was." The Kravari fleet advanced, weapons charged, into a reality that no longer obeyed their understanding of physics. Energy weapons fired only to find their beams curving in impossible patterns, their power dissipating into spectacular but harmless light shows. Crystalline computing systems, the pride of Kravari technology, found themselves processing quantum states that existed in multiple configurations simultaneously. From the Pacific facility, Dr. Patel monitored the quantum fields with satisfaction. "We're not just defending ourselves," she explained to the assembled representatives of 30 former hegemony species. "We're showing the galaxy a new way to exist." The quantum field didn't just protect Earth. It transformed the very nature of space within the solar system. Ships that pressed forward found themselves in regions where cause and effect had been subtly rewritten. The proud Kravari technology, based on crystalline precision, encountered a reality where precision itself had become fluid. High Chancellor Vextor, watching from his flagship as his fleet's weapons proved useless, faced the ultimate price of pride. The realization that everything his species had built their empire upon was based on a limited understanding of the universe. The Meridians, their quantum sensors attuned to the subtle changes, were the first to fully comprehend what humanity had achieved. They haven't just advanced technology, their chief scientists transmitted across the galaxy. They've evolved our understanding of reality itself. In the Hegemony Council chambers, now in chaos, Ambassador Zyra of the Nexians stood to address the assembly. "For millennia, we believed the Kravari were the pinnacle of evolution. Today, humanity shows us that evolution never stops, unless pride freezes us in place." The quantum field expanded, its effects rippling through space in ways that even humanity's scientists found beautiful and surprising. Ships that hadn't retreated found their crystalline structures resonating with new possibilities, their very matter singing with quantum potential. Commander Rivera's voice carried across all frequencies. We never wanted to rule. We never wanted to conquer. We wanted to show you that the universe is larger than any empire's pride. The Kravari fleet, faced with technology that didn't just surpass theirs, but operated on principles they couldn't comprehend, began to break apart. Some ships retreated. Others, following Admiral Thexaray's example, powered down their weapons in recognition of a fundamental truth. The age of Kravari dominion was over. In the quantum-shielded chambers beneath the Himalayas, Earth's leadership received transmissions from across the galaxy. Species that had been silent for millennia found their voices. The Aldarian Enclave, now grown to include 50 species, proposed a new form of galactic cooperation, one based not on dominion but on shared evolution. High Chancellor Vex Tor, his crystalline form clouded with the weight of revelation, transmitted his final order as leader of the hegemony: stand down. The price of pride has been paid. Let us learn to listen. The quantum field generator in the asteroid belt continued its work, not just protecting Earth but showing the galaxy a glimpse of what was possible when understanding surpassed pride. Dr. Wong and Dr. Patel's creation had become more than a weapon. It was a doorway to a new understanding of existence itself. Commander Rivera stood in the lunar observation dome, watching as the once mighty hegemony fleet dispersed. Some ships set course for home. Others remained, their crews eager to learn from the species they had once dismissed as primitive. What now? Lieutenant Patel asked, standing beside her. Rivera smiled, watching Earth rotate below, its quantum field shimmering with possibility. Now we do what humans have always done. We explore. We learn. We grow. But this time, we do it together with any who wish to join us. The price of pride had been paid in full, but its reward was beyond what anyone had imagined. A galaxy awakening to new possibilities, species learning to stand as equals, and the dawn of an age where understanding trumped dominion. In the depths of space, the quantum fields continued their dance, rewriting not just the laws of physics, but the laws of how civilizations could interact. The new dawn had arrived, and with it, the promise of a future where pride gave way to wonder and power bowed to wisdom. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of understanding had begun.